When someone says to you, have you got a fire plan? We possibly were so naive in understanding if all failed, because we only thought there'd be no possibility anything would happen, as in failing. And we had gone through religiously all night going, stage one, what are you doing first, Philip? What's happening second? What's happening third? Where do we go after that if this happens? And within the 25 minutes of absolute chaos, where we really couldn't see each other, but we just knew what we were meant to be doing, we came out the other end, and I'd say about 3 o'clock we looked at each other and we're amazed we saved the house. We were so happy, proud of ourselves.
And even though we lost pumps and we lost our tractor and carts and different bits and pieces, we can't feel sad about it, because there's 66 families here that don't have anything now.
We finished at midday, and in between sort of 2 o'clock in the morning there were still people leaving Nimboida and getting ready from Coots to leave, and then about 6 o'clock in the morning we had people returning back to the village to see the damage, and then coming back, several hours later, just getting out their cars. We'd moved back to Coots Crossing at that stage at the primary school. It just, going into just complete catatonic shock, where just complete disbelief. Some people had lost everything and they were not prepared for what they went back for. They'd lost their animals. Some people weren't able to get their animals out of the house in time. Some people were just so stressed and worried because they couldn't find their neighbours. They didn't know if their neighbours were right, because everybody had just left and nobody knew where anybody had gone to.
During the night, 2 guys who were badly burnt, one of them very badly burnt, arrived, and I was busy, and these kids just pumped up, and they all knew their first aid, and they looked after those 2 guys. I didn't have to do anything, and kept them irrigated till they were transported to meet with the ambulance in Coots Crossing. But that's just one of the things that one of the snapshots of the night and the day to come that really hits home to me. Seeing people just doing extraordinary things, ordinary people doing extraordinary things, and that's
Like Paul said, there's a lot of agencies, council, a lot of different departments around that are going to be coming in to help Nimboida, and that itself is a process that they've got to go through. So it's a matter of now getting rid of the pile of rubble that used to be whatever, a shed or a house, and giving people a clean slate and a bit of hope, and that. So next phase is removing a lot of rubbish, using a lot of hand tools, and everything, and just getting in there and getting an army of people together to get out there and help, and that will be probably kicking off in the next couple of weeks. So
I think that's a main point, I think, that I made earlier, of the resilience of this community. This community is like no other that I've ever been anywhere close to. They're not waiting. They're not waiting for the handouts, for the government to come in, for somebody to come in and say, yes, Will. They're rallying together. They're putting themselves in groups. They're making it work. The community is working for the community to make the community live. And some of the things they're doing, like having the markets today as regularly scheduled, whether they're not setting up as markets, who knows? Nobody have a garden left to sell anything. But it's that return to normalcy. Markets are normally on this day. Let's have it. That's a regularly scheduled thing. Let's do it. Let's be normal in this crazy maelstrom of abnormality. Let's do things that are normal, and that's part of the healing process. That's very important.
Lady was excited because her pet cows, she thought she had lost her pet cows, and she lost a house, her sheds, everything, and she comes home and she could hear bellowing down the back, and next minute her cows come up to her. So just beautiful little stories from people who have lost everything, and just to constantly have them come past all the time, making sure that we're right. But they're the ones that just have shown the most amazing strength. And just, as a community, just, neighbours checking on neighbours, and neighbours who have nothing, to make sure that their neighbour who has nothing also, that they're combining their resources so they have a little bit of something. And the stories you hear of survival, the stories you hear of the people behind the scenes, like not just the fireys, you've got the locals who help the fireys fight. You've got the dozer drivers, the excavator drivers, everybody pushing in containment lines and, fighting all together as a community to stop it from spreading into further down the road into Coots where it was such a threat.
I'm a trained fire investigator, and looking at some of the indicators, the incredible amount of heat that was involved, looking at the scenes afterwards is just really mind-boggling. I've not seen anything like it.
But where were the major losses? Were they concentrated or spread pretty well through?
Well, there were pockets, but as Gray said, the fire just selected what it was going to take, and there's no rhyme or reason.
Yeah.
There are sturdy brick and concrete steel buildings that are raised, but a wooden shack is saved. Like I don't understand it.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like I said, no rhyme or reason. This community's like no other that I've ever been anywhere close to. They're not waiting. They're not waiting for the handouts for the government to come in, for somebody to come in and say, yes, Will. They're rallying together. They're putting themselves in groups. They're making it work. The community is working for the community to make the community live. And some of the things they're doing, like having the markets today as regularly scheduled, whether they're not setting up as markets, who knows? Nobody have a garden left to sell anything. But it's that return to normalcy. Markets are normally on this day. Let's have it. That's the regularly scheduled thing. Let's do it. Let's be normal in this crazy maelstrom of abnormality. Let's do things that are normal, and that's part of the healing process.
There's 66 families here that don't have anything now, and that's the sad thing. But we came out the other end and we're survivors, so we're happy about that. We've got a very strong community, and sometimes when there's a disaster, the community shines, and I think that's what we're seeing right now. So we're very proud of our community, even though we get emotional about it. Okay.